never spell administrative correct, ever.
Did you trash any of these with your trash?
Well, I think we're just waiting on Nick to join us, I think, but
Okay, but are we live?
almost.
Okay.
Double check.
Dr. Clark, you out there? Okay. Oh, you know. That's good.
It is I took it back.
All right, I will call this meeting of the Solid Waste Special Service District number 1 to order this 20th of September 2023 at 4:03 p.m. Present are 3 of the board members, Chad, Diane, and myself, Kaylin, and district staff, Mike, LJ, Jessica, and Chris. First item of business is citizens input. Is there? Looks like we have at least one citizen joining us via Zoom. Sarah, if you can hear us and you wish to address us, now's your chance. But we'll stand by while you connect. Remember that, but it might or the our channel.
I think if you remove it, then it messes with yeah, don't remove it. I think that's where we have the issues with the Almont, or people can't hear us.
All right, not doing anything.
There's Nick. Nick, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can.
All righty. Sarah, any luck?
Were you addressing me?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
To be heard, so if you'd like to talk to us, now is the time.
okay. When I came on, I didn't even think you had started the meeting yet. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Let me see if I should show myself. I wanted to say good afternoon to everyone, and I wanted to explain and thank Mike. I've been working for weeks with the Moab Charter School. We've transitioned them from using single stream, which was mainly fibers, and cardboard they were hauling to the center themselves. So I worked very hard for weeks. We got it set up so that they now are taking the fibers to the center where they'll be used instead of landfill because they won't be contaminated. They don't use very many containers, and they've gotten a cardboard only dumpster. This is a win-win-win because you guys aren't losing revenue from their single stream bins, but you're getting high quality cardboard and you're getting higher quality fibers. Mike came out to the site and met with me and the teacher I've been working with, and he made it super easy. Everyone was highly impressed with his demeanor and his willingness to help. And so we're hoping that we could take that to other schools. Some of the bigger schools are more challenging. I just want to reiterate that I have devoted my life's blood to best practices recycling. That means source separated, clean material. We can do it here very easily. Grand Junction did it with 4,000 people. We would have nowhere near that many. The revenue would be improved. We could be part of a spoke and hub system. They may be making a MRF out in Junction. So I think we need to look forward. If there's financial issues in the road, there are definite ways to deal with that. I know you don't want my opinion on how to do it, but I have one. And I think we owe it to the children of our children's children to do best practices recycling because our wasting is very detrimental to the global health of our planet. And on that light note, I will bid you, I will remove my picture and listen to some of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Looks like there's no one else, so we'll move on to approval of meeting minutes. Their motion,
Oh, I'll make a motion
great.
to approve the minutes of August 16, 2023, as found in the packet.
Right. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Oh, motion made by Dan, seconded by Chad. Motion passes. There's 3 other sets of minutes. So I would entertain another motion for one or all of them.
I move that we approve the minutes as for the remaining 3. Do I need to say the dates in my
Yes,
motion?
or I can take them afterwards.
Okay. If you have them up, that'd be great. As presented in the board packet.
Right. A motion by Chad to approve the meetings of June 28th, July 26th, and July 31st, 2023. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Diane. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0.
Would you pull up the expenses for? It's in the folder. I've got it on paper, but you have to go scroll a little bit.
We now have review and approval of expenditure for the month of August 2023. LJ or anyone else, do you want to regale us with some spending highlights?
So, as usual, payroll total expenses for August are one of our biggest expenses. They were $283,036.49, which again includes benefits and employee advances. We also had quite a bit. The Utah Local Government Trust is who we get all our insurance through for property, equipment, workman's comp, on all that. And their calendar year recently changed. So we had a large expenditure in August because of the re-upping of some of that. So that was $43,861.51. We paid a total of $2,400 to Kurt's Custom Welding for repairs to containers. Total of repair, service, and maintenance outside of that from Kurt's Welding. So this is additional to that. For August for $14,311.69, and that is about down $10,000 from the previous month. And of that $2,667.66 was for tire retreads. Fuel again is still pretty expensive. Fuel total for August was $29,066.66. There's a lot of that, which is a little or almost $7,000 more than July. We also paid $3,388.40 to TAMS for e-waste disposal. And we did send a check to the PTIF account for a total of $108,512.64.
Right, thank you. Is there a motion or a question for Edmund?
Review with me the TAMS thing. Is that quarterly or?
That was for the one load that we've done this year.
And so is that going to be, how many loads do we do per year?
It really depends on how fast the material comes in. That is the only load we've done since I've been here.
Right, okay.
Our rate, the state rate went up from about 22 to 40, I believe, cents per pound, which is one of the reasons we raised
Right.
the e-waste pricing at the CRC a few months back.
So you guys call them when you need them to come get the stuff? Is that what the deal is?
We take it on the trailer that we purchased this year. To them, we usually take some e-waste and then some bales to Interwest at the same time.
Oh, you take it to them
Yes,
because they used to come here, then they would take it when they left. Is that?
the bales. Yes.
The TAMS waste, hazardous waste stuff.
Um,
Isn't that what we're talking about? hazardous waste.
E-waste,
Well,
electronic.
e-waste,
Yeah.
computers.
So when we didn't have the developed program that we have now, TAMS came when we had an e-waste yearly or bi-yearly.
It wasn't TAMS, it was the previous state health contractor, I forget.
METech,
METech.
when they left Utah and Tams took over the contract.
But when they came.
They
prior
didn't,
to-
this week, they had never come.
Oh,
With our first shipment up,
hold it over.
well, no, actually,
I think we had-
Interwest paper came and took one shipment up.
Yeah.
So this was our second shipment to them.
Well, when I drove up to the last e-waste, I thought it was an e-waste thing this summer. There were a lot of people in white uniforms outside.
No, that's
That
our
was-
HHW.
Yeah, that,
Okay, I'm getting.
the household hazardous waste, and I think, Chris will give you a little update on that and his
Okay.
report.
All right. Clarified, thank you.
I have a question about the fuel prices. Is that, what do you think the nearly $7,000 increase is from? Is it from changing fuel prices? Is it-
Oh, it's from, because there were a couple, sometimes it just happens. Sometimes there's invoices from the previous
More
month.
than one invoice?
Mhm.
I feel like that happened one or two board meetings ago as well.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's one of our major expenses.
I'd like to make a motion, please. I move that we approve the expenditures for the month of August 2023 in the amount of $505,114.67.
I second.
Thank you, Chad and Diane. Any further discussion? Seeing none, and it's all for the vote, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes 3-0. We now move on to staff reports. Mike.
Right. To give you the monthly review, overall operationally, it's been fairly quiet. It's been I dare say, smooth month. We have been the most staffed possible since I've been here, as far as drivers and helpers. It has definitely helped on those few occasions we've had people call in, call off sick, that type of thing. So overall, operationally, the collections have gone fairly well. Roll off is up slightly, but not as bad as last month, but still not what I would call busy.
Although you should have seen the stack of tickets Wendy had on her desk today. So there was a lot that was called in today.
We did have a semi-busy day. Last time I checked, maybe they were still on our desk.
Yes.
When I checked it too, there was only a handful of loads for tomorrow, so maybe there's more. Let's hope so. One of the new trucks has been up in Salt Lake City for 3 weeks. But we are getting it back tomorrow. They're gonna bring it back to us. And hopefully it'll be in one piece and we'll stay in one piece. They had to do a complete hydraulic drain again. Change the valve box again, and it's just been very, very frustrating. But hopefully, when we get back tomorrow, we'll have it to stay. Because that is holding up some of the route efficiency plans that we've got. To bring down overtime on 2 of the routes. We've got to have that dependable truck in order to make those changes. So we will give it a few weeks, make sure it's not gonna do anything to slow us up. And then we'll look to make those changes. The tire removal from Moab, I think I told you DEQ has approved it, which is fantastic news. We're trying to get this scheduled. Because Liberty Tire is basically, well, they're the sole outlet for Utah. We're kind of at their mercy when they schedule it. But I've reached out 3 times in the last week and a half and haven't gotten an answer, but we're staying on it. It's approved. It'll happen. It's just a matter of scheduling it. And please remember that project will not cost us any money, even out of pocket and reimbursed, because the state is going to take care of that. What was do you remember the estimate? I was drawing a blank earlier. But we're talking
Pretty
$100,000.
Yeah, I think it's between 100 and probably 180, which is our first one, because we're getting pretty close to about the same size.
We have quite a pile up there. The new radios are all in all the vehicles. They're all in place. Coverage goes from at least Green River to LaSalle. Already paying dividends. The drivers are using them. I'm not even touching the whole safety aspect that we can actually reach our employees when we want to. These were funds I didn't want to spend, but I felt essential. This is the way things should be. You should be able to reach your drivers on the radio. So this might be one of the biggest changes that I'm most proud of, because it's what we're supposed to do, and we're able to do it, and it is succeeding. Chris did a lot of the legwork on that, so I thank you for that. The financial advisor is moving along. We don't have a report at this time. Raf Tallis, the consultant for the rate studies, has showed us the first draft just yesterday, and they hope to bring, well, they should bring a draft for the board to look at next month. The RFP for benefits brokerage, GBS was chosen. I'll be honest, they were chosen because they have a huge presence in the county with the school district and the county. So hopefully they'll definitely provide some benefits, and we'll see about the cost savings. Hopefully there'll be some cost savings as well, but we'll know soon. Jessica and I both went to the Wyoming Recycling Association, which on the surface sounds funny since we live in Utah. But it was in Evanston, which is just an hour from Salt Lake City. And we were able to tour not only Liberty Tire, where our tires go, but Interwest Paper, where most of the CRC, well, all the CRC material goes. As well as we stopped, Jessica set up the tour of the Wasatch Front District Authority. So we toured their MRF transfer station, their landfill.
Everything,
Everything.
composting, HHW, their reuse thrift store. They've got a massive
It was-
organization up there.
It was very impressive. I had no idea until we got there. And it was just nice to hear some of the things they're doing that other people are dealing with. They had to fine tune their program. They initially built it as a one-stop MRF, a dirty MRF, if you will, where it all came in one, and it just did not work. And in about 6 months or so, they converted it back to a single stream MRF. Some of the best plans don't always work out. They gave it a shot and it did not work, but the MRF is fully functioning. It was just really neat to see.
Hey, Mike, sorry to interrupt.
no,
Could you
go ahead.
explain those two terms?
Oh, I'm sorry.
What kind of MRFs were they? We started with one and switched to the other?
There has been, and several places around the country have tried it, and I don't know if there's one functioning. The thought is
Called it a dirty MRF?
everything, the trash comes as is.
In one big file, and they
Oh,
sort from there.
So that's like truly a single stream.
True, yes,
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
that's ambitious.
They try to recapture the green waste, the food waste, and send it to a biodigester. It gets very complicated. It was really neat. They repurposed their old incinerator. They kept the shell of the building and built the MRF inside it, which I thought was pretty amazing. But a lot of their materials, not a lot, some of their end materials go to the incinerator. Some of the number 7 plastics and whatnot end up going to the same place that some of the tire byproducts go to. There's a burner up there, and it produces, they mix it with coal, and it supposedly burns a cleaner, hotter.
all that plastic.
Yes. So it was very interesting. Plus we got to meet some people. David Bitterman, who is the former executive director of SWANA, basically the national lobbyist for the Solid Waste Association of North America, was one of the keynote speakers. Got to actually talk to him a lot, and I feel like I could call him if I needed some input or advice, and I think he would be there. He was actually here the week before. We were at the same Swanee concert and didn't know it, and he went from here up to the same conference, so it was just one of those small world things. The only other thing I have is a major announcement. For those of you that don't know, LJ will be retiring in January.
She warned us.
I have to publicly thank her for all the hard work she has put in and continues to put in. I've finagled at least an extra month out of her. Because we really need her to help us get through the AMC transition, which we'll be talking about. She has been working extremely hard lately, and I just can't thank her enough. I'm not looking forward to her leaving. I've made that quite clear. But I understand too, and I wish her the best.
So did that answer your question about the two things?
Yeah, do you have a question?
Well, I'm not sure. The one that now does not exist is not called single stream. The one that exists now is called single stream. What was the name of the one where they took everything in? I never heard of that.
You called that a dirty move.
It's called a dirty MRF.
I call them all dirty MRFs.
Well,
But I've never
This
heard of
would-
anybody
I
taking
don't know
all.
why.
Imagine-
That's up to you.
Imagine throwing like dirty diapers in your single stream. That's a dirty.
Yeah,
move.
I've never heard of anybody doing that.
The thing is, it's one truck, one load. You get all the material and you can pick, because basically everyone's participating. The thinking is, okay, we get this many tons with regular single stream. We should be able to get even more if we took it all. But it gets much more complicated.
Is that-
obviously.
Well,
Does that mean, sorry.
in
go
your
ahead.
years of working in this field, have you ever heard of other entities doing that?
That was my question. Has it
Yes.
ever been successful? Like,
Never long term.
Yeah.
They all go to single stream eventually. Some of them, at one point, Cook County in Chicago did the blue bag program. Where the blue bags were put in with the trash. And the thinking was you could easily grab out the blue bag of recycling. Well, you're adding a whole step there. You're adding plastic bags. People get lazy. So no, I know one in Alabama about 2 years ago. It operated about a month before they said this isn't working. It's all experimental. It's very expensive. I understand where they're coming from. But it's not a proven technology at this time, not long term. Not like single stream.
a lot of cheap labor to make it work. A lot of cheap.
Well, LJ, congratulations. I'm very sorry to see you go. You've been through a lot with this organization. But thank you.
Well, thank you. I have a lot of personal things going on. I was going to mention in my, I'll be working remotely again next week because I do have to go to LA. So that plays a lot into the decision that I made. So
I do have a question for Mike. How big is the benefits contract?
How big? There is no dollar figure attached to it because they get their, I'm not saying this correctly, but basically the providers pay them a commission. So there is no out-of-pocket expense to us. Which is the reason it wasn't brought before the board, because there is no outgoing. They're a broker, and the more they sign up, the more commission that they can get. So in a way, they're working for us, hopefully.
Will they eventually bring providers to us? Like-
yeah, that's the
Okay.
plan. And I was going to talk about that more.
Okay, great. I'll wait for that. All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
LJ.
Oh, Chris is next, but I
Oh, I'm
can't go
sorry,
now.
Chris.
I'll just, yeah, I'll be real quick. I just got 3 things. we got a phone call today. The loader we've been talking about should be scheduled for arrival in the next week, hopefully. If you noticed outside when you were coming in, our large metal pile is gone. We were able to get rid of 890,000 pounds of metal. We received a check for 40,000 some change. It was a 42,000. So that's pretty exciting. Last thing is we did have a pickup from Veolia yesterday. This has kind of been in the works for over a year. It was kind of why we even started this HHW program. We're actually operating under their umbrella. They have some local people that they come down with quarterly. So once everything kind of gets worked out, hopefully we can split the mobilization costs for them to come down here. In doing so, we've decided not to do the fall HHW. In fact, we're just going to get rid of the bigger HHW events that we've been planning, and hopefully this way this will offset some of the costs, because we do charge to collect the HHW now. Jessica was part of it yesterday and helped inventory it, and I don't know if you were going to talk about it, but I mean, she was an integral part of getting this whole thing set up and sent away. It was nice to see empty shelves. We had a couple of hiccups, so we missed a quarter. So our first quarter was actually our big event, and then we missed the second quarter. So hopefully next time it won't be quite as much stuff. And that's all I got.
Right, any questions? No. All right, LJ.
Okay, so I'll just go right to the yes. So the reason we started talking to them was, you know, I've had some concerns about PHP and wanting to find a way to reduce costs to the district. And one of the ways to do that is through the benefits for health insurance that we provide for the employees. And he happened to reach out to me because he was coming down here, Joe, who was with GBS, was coming down to talk to Renee at Grand County, and he has other customers in the area, not just the ones that might mention. And I had been wanting to look out for better ways to save money, and he pitched a good pitch, and we went ahead and put an RFP out for it, and we talked to, there's like 6 of them, 6 different brokers that applied, and we kind of went through it. But what really stood out about these guys is the one that they already work down here, and that they will be here. I can talk to them face to face, where the other ones have always been remote, the ones that we've used before. And it's kind of hard to, you know, get a good meeting together for the employees to be able to ask the questions that they need. The other thing that I was really impressed with is I wanted to try and do, I think they called it like a cafeteria style. I think I've best mentioned in other meetings that trying to reach out to a provider that will allow the employees to pick an option that doesn't include an HSA if they want to pay a different price. So, or if they want an FSA or something like that. So more of a different approach than we've done in the past. So hopefully save us some money. I have a meeting with them tomorrow, so I'll have a lot more information after that. The advantage also is that we can possibly, even if, you know, we choose the same provider that like the county does, we could possibly save some money that way as well, because it'll be grouped in. The other thing that I was going to talk about is we went ahead and created a new operations checking account. We've talked about this too at Matthew, Mountain America. We also, because they require you to have a savings account when you open a checking account, so we have a new savings account there. And so now we have a total of 5 accounts at Matthew. I've been busy the last week last 2 weeks or something, trying to set up the remote scanner so we could put checks, direct deposit checks in, which would save time and labor. Employees don't have to go to the bank to make the deposits unless it's cash. So just kind of makes it go a little bit smoother, a lot faster, gets into the bank faster. So that was finally accomplished today, just about an hour before the meeting. And then AMCS, it's been pushed out. I think we already mentioned to November as far as going live. The training is, we've had a few hiccups, and we're in the training that we're in now, we're finding a lot of things that, which is good. I mean, because we want it when it goes live to be pretty smooth, but there's some things that definitely need to be adjusted. And there's going to be a huge learning curve for a lot of people, I think. But and that's all I have.
Great. Any questions? All right, seems like a lot's going on. Jessica,
So I'm gonna start with the bad news. Unfortunately, we did not get the EPA grant. There were 334 applications and only 25 were awarded. 2 of them were in Utah. One was the city of Logan and the other one was UDQ performing a statewide waste audit. There were not, surprisingly, a lot of rural applications that were selected. I noticed a lot of them were grouped up in the Northeast. So I guess because they have a larger population, I'm not sure. I think Montana had 1 selection. New Mexico had 1 selection. Colorado had 2, and Arizona didn't even have a single award. So there was a huge neglect in the desert Southwest. So that's the bad news aside. I've been really busy, not so much on programs, just a lot of administrative stuff. Going through, making sure all of our information is consistent, updated all of our fee schedules online to reflect our new pricing, the new logo, and then also created packets for every single individual that interfaces with the public. So that way everybody has the exact same information. So when somebody calls, we're not giving conflicting bits of information. So everybody's got that information at their fingertips now. Attended the conference, like Mike said. Chris covered the Veolia pickup for our HHW. That was about 3 hours worth of loading chemicals into a truck. It took forever. But the gentleman that picked up everything was absolutely ecstatic by the way that we had everything set up. He said, "This is one of the cleanest I've ever seen. The way that y'all separate things makes my job so much easier, and you sorted it properly." And he gave us a couple of tips to kind of further streamline, and a couple of items to help us. So more floor absorbent, couple of bags, pH testing strips, just things you don't really think about. So there's that. And of course, I've been very busy with minutes. As you notice, you've got 4 in a row. You can tell I really love doing minutes. And let's see. Oh, last but not least, we have finalized dates for the fall voucher program that's going to be starting, I believe, October 18th. No, 16th. And going until the 28th. We were trying to figure out what the weather was going to do. I need to double check and make sure that that doesn't fall in line with any sort of hunting activities. Not a hunter, I don't know, but apparently we did our spring one during a hunting season and people were not thrilled. So yeah, that's it.
very good. Sorry to bring up the grant.
Yeah, I was very upset.
Because you eat more often if you really like minutes.
They are my least favorite part of my job. I hate this.
Any questions from the board? All right. Next up, our board reports.
I don't know if Nick, I
Oh.
forgot to put him on there. I don't know if he has anything.
Nick, do you have anything?
No, just a question on those, on the Utah Local Government Trust, that the workers' comp and bond insurance, was that for 1 month or for 6 months or 12 that you had mentioned?
I think a couple of them were for 12.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, several were for 12, and then the workman's comp is always monthly.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's all for me.
Oh, thanks, Nick.
And Nick, we didn't mention, but we do want you to join us in the next meeting with Raftellus.
Yes, yes, please. I missed that last one.
All right, board reports. Either of you have anything?
I do.
Great.
I was just curious, you know, I don't know if anyone read it, but there was an article in the opinion piece in both newspapers and I have a question to be answered after my report, and that is, has that generated any conversations with the city and the SISWA? But when I submitted this opinion piece to one of the two newspapers, this has never happened before, but they edited that thing and published two pretty clear erroneous informations. And they've never done that before to me. So one of them was, it states, the sentence says, broken glass is never recycled. And I didn't say that. The second one was, most Americans use single stream to recycle. Most Americans and Moabites use single stream for recycling. I never said that because I don't know that statistic. I've heard about most Americans use single stream, and I said that, but I never said Moab recycles mostly by single stream. So I was pretty upset. Supposedly they had something published that they had misrepresented my information. But the other newspaper, which I think that was just last week, published it in full with no changes. And, you know, I guess that's what you have to request when you send something in. I mean,
I did see the corrections.
did you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, but maybe it was a good thing because people get to talk about more things. I don't know. But one of the things that that came out in Sarah's latest long list of things made me think about that statistic thing that most Moabs recycle by way of single stream. Well, I don't know those statistics, and I was just wondering if there's any way we could come up with those statistics, Mike. I mean, we know how many single streams we have, but how would you ever compute how many people come up to the recycle center? Because wouldn't that be the only representation that we have of source separated would be the people that come there? I don't know how to do that. But I think it's important because what Sarah said is, indeed, we're going down the pipe trying to, you know, balance the books. And we know how much it costs to take single stream across the mountain. And so how much does it cost per person after we take the proceeds in from the single stream? Does it cost to take that stuff over the mountain? And then, you know, I'm always a proponent, maybe not have stated it, but of supporting and promoting and growing our CRC. And this, I believe, would be the first way to start thinking along those lines. So that, you know, hopefully we're going to be able to get this thing figured out with the city before we have to renege with them. So I'm just curious, has anyone heard anything from the city or anybody?
One, I didn't see the first version. I must have seen the correct version because it was sitting here for a week, but somebody must have moved it. It was sitting right here yesterday. I don't know of any direct contact from the public or any discussion that's come up, but I met with the city this morning, and that's obviously, it was the first step in talking about future arrangements, and obviously glass is on it.
So there, you just said that the city is internally talking about this, the people that are important players in this decision about single stream and glass, they're talking about it. How do you know that?
Well, I mean, that was brought up when I met with the city this morning.
Oh,
And because it's the first step in whatever agreement we might be able to work out.
okay.
To get the ball rolling, basically. It's happening, it's further discussion. They want some follow-up on our rate studies They mentioned some input on it. We'll have to discuss that. But that was one of the topics,
Okay,
definitely. As far as the cost, please remember the materials that they don't go to the same place, but they basically go to the same city, whether they're from the CRC or the single stream. So we have some of the same costs for both.
but we don't charge, you know, I mean, they're not the same, is it? Because you have, you know, the income that you get from the single stream would have to be considered, whereas at the CRC, you know, there is income, and that's the other thing you have to figure out. But anyway, wouldn't that be something that would be of value to us going down the pike?
As far as knowing how many homes recycle single stream,
Well, and ultimately knowing how much does single stream cost the district? And how much does the source separated cost the district to the best of our
well,
ability to come
I
up?
can tell you this, the CRC lost $88,000 last year. That was in the budget.
And it would be interesting to contrast that to the single stream, meaning,
It would be very, yes, it would. It's gonna be hard to be 100% apples to apples. Because we do charge for single stream, so we're making more money on the front end, more revenue, I won't call it profit. We get paid a little bit more for the source separated, but there's a lot less produced. I mean, a lot less. We're going to the MRF about every 10 days with 12 to 15 tons. We're taking a mixed load of give me a good figure of the mixed load. Chris, help me out here.
Tonnage?
Yeah, and I should know the,
32, let's see, I think the last one was, I think 32,000,
so 15, 16 tons
15, 16 tons, probably
every
2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 months.
And a lot of that is, glass.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean,
That,
by far a majority of that is glass, I would say.
but we know that, you know, some of this glass probably it hasn't been recycled for the last X number of
None of
years.
it's recycled.
It's recycled.
No, we don't recycle. Utah, it's repurposed as insulation.
Well, maybe, but
No,
I'm
that's
just,
for sure.
well, I'm just saying that we've been sending to that interweave or whatever it is in the single stream may not.
Oh, that's that. I'm not sure that, but
Yeah, that's the one
the
I'm
source
talking about.
separated glass goes to Interwest Paper or Pro Recycling Group. And then they off it to Momentum, who repurposes it as insulation.
Right, of course. We all hope and know that, but I'm talking about the other, you know,
Right.
we might be pounded just below in the CRC, but that stuff that's been going over there hasn't been recycled.
that is true. That is 100% true.
And you know, part of Sarah's is the argument, and mine too, is that the public has not been told that. The public continues to think. And we function in that manner that it is, and, you know, it's a lie. And I just think that we need to at least go down that pike when we need revenue and see how we're standing in that venue. Single stream versus the CRC.
So are you want to know what like the cost per ton of, the cost to the district per ton of recycled materials that goes through the CRC versus single stream? What exactly are you
Well,
asking?
I'm
What is this?
sure
What are the
because-
statistics that you're wanting to know?
Well, it was stated wrongly that we have more single streamers in this town than we do source separated. Nah, wrong.
Well, we really don't know.
We don't know.
Well, we do know that there's
We probably
far
don't.
more tonnage that's going by the single stream. So
Yeah,
that's the best proxy we have for it.
I'm sure we know how many subscribers we have to single stream. There's probably a good estimate of
669.
how many households are in the county, right?
Well, the city, we would know.
Yeah,
The total residential customers and how many of them subscribe to single stream, but I mean.
Well, we know how many.
So we could probably get a reasonable approximation of how many households are in the whole county, right, or within the jurisdiction of the district. We
Well,
can
we know
make
the
a pretty
population
reasonable.
of Moab, don't we know the population of
Yeah, we're
Moab?
not talking about population, we're talking about households. It's a little
But
different.
Well, but we know 165 are single streamers,
665, city of Moab homes.
but how many are single streamers out of 665?
That is the single stream, 665.
Oh, okay, 600 out of whatever the population is, wouldn't that?
Well, it's the number of households, because
Well,
not
number-
everyone, so Mike, you know, how many residential customers are in the city? or-
I need to check this, but I think 923 don't recycle,
So there's 1,500 total households?
approximate.
Well, we went back, is that the numbers that we came up with a while back? It was like a couple months ago.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So if those numbers are correct, we'd say fewer than half are single stream.
Right.
We don't know how many of those that more than half are either, they're either not recycling or they're using recycling, so the CRC.
Yeah, and,
But we don't know that.
and I don't know how you would, but, you know, I guess you'd come up with more than one statistic. And I think the more that you came up with, the more important, you know, the more information you would glean from this little exercise. As far as how would you calculate how many people are using the CRC, I don't know. I mean, you could take, say, 500 cars go up there a week, and maybe you could just say, people come double time, people whatever. I don't know. I don't know how you do that. But anyway, I would just really think that that would be something that would give us some valuable information.
Well, and some people come here to drop off their single stream too.
Yes,
To the transfer
yes, I don't know how to come up with those numbers, but you know, just when that opinion was published to say that most people in Moab recycle by way of single stream, I was like, well, why did she even say that? Why did they put that in there? Nobody knows. We don't even know. So why would a newspaper put that erroneous information out there, or information that we don't even know, you know?
So sometimes when I read the paper about a meeting that I have been at, it's hard for me to tell that the reporter was at the same meeting.
Honest to
So-
God, I didn't even recognize my article. I didn't recognize
Right,
it.
so it might be useful to separate like our distress at the reporting that sometimes occurs from the job that Mike and the rest of the staff are doing to.
Well, I'm not down on anything that these people are doing, Caitlin. I'm just saying that I don't think anybody here on this table knows those numbers, has even taken the time to look at that information critically like that.
I think they have. I think Mike and the staff have been working on with like the consultants to come up with a new fee schedule. And the original one was based on a private company that needed to make money, and they priced single stream accordingly. They weren't doing it as a charity. So I'm reasonably confident that single stream is priced somewhat close to what it costs. The
Well-
district and
Do we know that?
I can't answer that at this point.
So these are good questions.
I guess it gets back to what Chad said. What do we want to try and figure out? How much it costs per ton to collect the recycling and ship it to Salt Lake City?
well, my understanding is that Raptelis is going to come up with a fee schedule that is proportionate to the costs of the district for all the cost centers.
Or that
Yes.
also includes all the equipment repair and whatnot, and that needs to be included,
Fully burden cost.
but how do we remove the cost of the new loader that we're using at the transfer station 20% of the time to load recycling? You know, a lot of this stuff is crossed. A lot of the overhead is in both.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know if we would, oh, thanks, Nick.
Yeah, there's a lot of mixture of costs between systems because a lot of it's not fully utilized in one system. You're being efficient by having one piece of equipment that can be used across various cost centers versus having, dedicated one for each cost center, which would be cost prohibitive. But yeah, so you'd probably come up with an allocation. Okay, yes, the loader is used, like you mentioned, 20% of the time in the recycle center, then you'd assign 20% of that cost to the recycle center. It becomes part of that cost center's budget or operating center.
Nick,
Going
Do
back to
you-
that question about the single stream customers, I think everyone has the ability to single stream if they want to. It's just, it looks like, 600 do and 900 don't. So it's probably, how do you get that 900, to come on board?
Well,
Well, some of them recycle already via the CRC.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then some fraction of them don't recycle at all.
Right.
And so for people who don't recycle at this time, like, how do you convince them to use one system or the other, and where do we put our effort?
Because the more people you get to recycle into the recycling program, that becomes incremental revenue because you're already doing it. So if you got more people coming on, you're granted you are getting more material, but the incremental revenue it benefits the district to have that cost center either show a profit or break even.
So I guess maybe one of the questions Diane is asking is that incremental revenue best directed towards the CRC, or is it better? Is it better revenue if it's single stream? I'm not talking about an environment.
Oh, I see.
But is it? But where do we make more revenue in these whatever that?
Yeah, what's the jump off point where one is better than the other? That's good
well,
question.
to me, I don't make any money in any of this. And to me, it's not really always or exclusively thought of as a money-making thing. You guys don't want to hear that. But I'm just saying, just as Sarah tells us all the time, and I believe this, Sarah doesn't have to tell me, there's a more responsible way to recycle. And
responsible, more emissions, more cost.
well, we won't
You
go into
know,
that. We'd be
what's
here
the
till
definition
midnight.
of most responsible? What I get back to is single stream diverts more tonnage away from the landfill. It always will. It does. It is, as a point that was made in today's email. It works better in a large urban environment where it's closer together and more people are participating. But we've already.
It goes back to the incremental cost. You got a truck going down the street and 50% of the people on that street are participating. You're driving by 50% that are not. You're already there. If you get 100% participation, your incremental costs actually go down. So it's participation that drives, whether that becomes break even or profitable or has a loss.
Okay, so to me, also, I don't see a lot of this happening with the CRC, but I think that, how we get people to participate is a no-brainer. I mean, there's an educational program that I haven't seen here since I've been on this board. I mean, Jessica, I don't mean to say that you don't work towards that goal, but I tried to get into the schools. I have yet to hear from the elementary school. And I don't know if I ever will, and they had a great program there for educating, elementary school kids about recycling, not one, but both ways. No, actually, this was sort of separated, but nevertheless, we would be talking about both of them in that educational program. But we're not talking to the citizens of this town about any kind of recycling on a basis that I interpret as outreach for recycling. We do other things, and Jessica, I applaud you. You work hard. I know you do, but I'm talking about recycling, and we're talking about recycling. Recycling doesn't get talked about in this community. I want to hear somebody tell me that it does. I don't see it. I don't hear it. And people in this town want to recycle, and they do recycle.
Well, I don't know if that's true. If you got 900, if you've got 1,500 and 900 are not participating, doesn't sound like they want to recycle.
But listen, Nick, that 900 is probably at least got one person that's going up to the CRC.
Oh,
And
yeah, I would bet,
And I'm telling you, if we got one person going up there, we got a lot.
I would say,
go
you know,
there.
probably
I
10%.
don't think there's 900 unique households that are using the CRC.
No, I don't either. I didn't say
No.
that.
I'd reached out at one point to the county to try to get one of their road counters. Cause we were gonna put a counter,
Yes.
to
That's,
go through there.
that's how you measure it. The CRC, you measure it by foot traffic, which would be the road counter.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
although the county would not let us use theirs, they said they're inexpensive enough, you should purchase your own, is the answer I got, so.
That was, since I've been here,
Was
But
it-
and
but
messed
like,
around.
it seems like Sarah's there every day. Every time I go there, I see Sarah there.
Well, and I go
But
there.
she's- Well, she does drop off, I guess, but yeah,
I
so
know.
it wouldn't, but it wouldn't be unique
Yeah.
either, so even that would be flawed.
Was it the road department that said no, or?
Yes.
someone else?
Yes, the road department. They thought it was a good idea, oh yeah, that'd be good, but by your own, basically.
So what do they
It
cost?
wouldn't
Do you
really
have
give
any
us,
idea?
it wouldn't
I
give us
can't
the
remember.
number we're looking for. It wouldn't give us like the number of households.
No, it wouldn't. But, you know, I'm just leaving it with these people that would be something I think that with these numbers, these statistics might be valuable down the pike.
Jen, maybe we were on the city council, I think, when Single Stream, when it came to Moab, I remember there was some discussion about, first it was like something you had to opt out of, and now it's going to something we have to opt into. Do you remember, were you on the council, and do you remember that, why that change was made? Was it because people were upset about being forced to recycle, or what was the? Because that's one way to get, probably to get more people to participate, is if you have to opt out of the system rather than opt into it, right? Like right now, you have to call up the district and say, hey, I want a single stream can, but if we just said every customer gets a single stream can, if you don't want to pay for it, then you have to call up. Opt out of the system.
Yeah.
I think the conversation about recycling in this community has become so toxic that we just didn't want to deal with it. That we
That-
just
I
chose to
think that's a
take it-
good, honest answer.
I think we just chose to take a path of least resistance and
yeah.
less controversy. And we're just take it slower and have it be an optional opt-in.
Okay.
But if you believe what we read in this latest Sarah's thing, you know, that history accounted for the fact that Monument was trying, their intent when this single stream was started was to have it mandatory. And apparently shit hit the fan.
Oh, yeah.
And people didn't want to do that.
They didn't want to do it mandatorily.
And that is a good indication that, you know, 900 people said no.
Right.
900 people did not say no.
Well-
Sarah got for the people that listened to her, a few of them spoke up. The city council, like all public bodies, is very sensitive to people in front of them, and they chose the path of least option. We don't have, you can't quote that as good data and then say that the data that the district has is completely lacking. And Sarah's letter had mischaracterizations as well, so.
Okay, understood. But I'm just saying that, you know, I believe that this community will not, even now, I don't think that we have enough single streamers in this community simply because we've had the opportunity to go to the CRC and use that. You know, a lot of people interpret the CRC as free.
That's because
They never donate. They never, you know, nobody. And so to me, that's an incentive alone for people to drive up there and do that. And then when they were told or thought that they might have mandatory, another bill coming in for this single stream, well, you know, nobody liked that too much. So interesting, just don't talk about it and it doesn't exist.
I talked about it with people, and I know people that used to recycle at CRC and converted because they'd rather have the convenience, even if it costs.
And there
That's
is
great, and I'm not
also,
opposed to that at all. I'm just saying that we have a CRC, and I'm thinking that we need to be educating people about using it and stuff. So
Well, I would just say that having lived in this town as long as I have, it is very difficult to reach the majority of people in this town because most of them, the only paper that they read is the Advertiser. They don't get any other information except for on Facebook. And we have put a bunch of information on Facebook and on, what other types of social media and on our website, and tried to reach out and put as much information out there as possible in other papers. But having worked in the schools and, to try and do fundraisers, and I just noticed for years and years and years, that's the demographics of this community. Most people live in their own little worlds, and it's really difficult to get them out. So,
But they're, okay, well, I believe.
we've explored all the different avenues, and I'm way open to trying to find a different avenue, but all the avenues that are out there, we've used. So I'm just gonna say that.
Nick, do you think you could help me try and come up with a per ton cost? I mean, it's not
Well,
gonna be exact.
Well, I think
This is the work, excuse me,
No.
this is the work of Ralph Tellis and the other consultants and you guys, and next month, you're gonna present a fee study that's, one of the options is directly proportional to fully loaded expenses, right?
You bring up a good point. In that the district is more than just recycling. They're gonna be bringing in total costs. It costs to run the landfill, the recycle center, everything. Those are the rates they're gonna be bringing to us, not necessarily a per ton cost or even a per home cost. But they're gonna come back and tell us we need to raise our rates this much if we want to financially pay our bills.
But at a certain point, it won't come down to specific rates. It's a rate
Well,
study, right?
Well, exactly, but at this point, it is still at how much we need to raise to cover our costs overall. We need to come up with a more specific, and you gotta remember, we've got all these different costs, all these different rates, from HHW to e-waste, to single stream, to regular trash, to 95 trash, to 65 trash, to every other week. So what I'm getting at is it is very complicated, and more options make a true determination of what is best more difficult.
So by, you mean more rate options or asking for more information?
No, more rate options. It makes it hard to compare apples to apples when you've got that many options and you've got 2% doing this, 8% doing that, 20% doing this. But keep in mind, the rates we're talking about are our overall rates, not just the recycle rates. There's more to the district than recycling.
Yeah, but those will need to be granularized down to, rate per house as we go into our negotiations with the city on the rates for next year. So
Exactly.
if it's broad brush initially, it does need to go down to, okay, what is a household gonna pay for trash? What are they gonna pay for recycling on a monthly basis?
Absolutely, as far as the negotiations with the city, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's what they want to hear. That's how much per home. That's the way it's broken down on any major contract. Which is another reason we need you there Tuesday, as we get a new version.
But going back to the recycle question, the broad brush is, or you look at 12 months worth of tonnage coming from the single stream collection, and then you look at 12 months worth of tonnage coming out of the CRC. Again, that could vary on when that stuff gets taken up to the ultimate vendor, the timing, but you basically want to look at 12 months worth of data on both streams to see, okay, single stream does, let's just throw out a number, say it's just for some purposes 100 tons single stream, and we're getting 40 tons out of the CRC in a same amount of time frame. That kind of tells you the total volume. Again, it doesn't take into account of the 900 who are not participating. Perhaps 10% of them are taking it up to the CRC. So you would infer that the the total volume is somewhere, greater than the combination of those two streams. I'm just using those numbers as a jump off point, but, yeah,
I
it
would,
goes-
on top of that, Nick, I'd be interested in knowing the revenue per ton for each of those two recycling options, single
Right.
stream, the CRC.
Well, the CRC is gonna be negative.
But
And
he's meaning the gross revenue. Okay, you're getting this much per cardboard. This is how many tons you had. This is,
Yeah.
but this for the certain plastic that has value. This is for whatever other items are in there. You could see those readily by the type of material. Well, where on the CRC side, and then on the single stream side, you're getting paid, the collective ton, whatever it may be, if it's not contaminated.
Right now, I take my recycling to the CRC because I believe it helps the district more. My home is a duplex and I have a single stream subscription as well, and because my tenants use that. So
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know which is better. Which one is serving the district better?
There are so many variables, like I mentioned, emissions. It
They're both serving the district in a good capacity because they're getting materials out of the trash stream. So they're both methodologies. It's convenient to do it one way for one person. It's convenient to do it the different other way for another person. So I think we're allowing people to do it in the method that they want. It's just that it just seems that there's a lot that don't want to do it at all.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand it, the district finances, if you use the CRC and you don't make a donation, you're increasing the district costs because the district loses money.
Yes, absolutely.
Even though it's cleaner, that's not enough, and the revenues from selling that material is not enough.
And it's not always revenue too, like this last couple of months, it's not revenue, we pay, it might be cleaner product, but we're paying to get rid of it, like we're not getting money back for it.
Right, and that's not counting all the operational costs.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
But
So yeah,
I
on top of that, so we have to pay to get rid of it.
But also, like, I am concerned about the environment too, and I think probably Diane and Sarah would probably speak to this as well, that there is the stuff that goes to the CRC has a better likelihood of actually getting recycled compared to what is in single stream, right? There's a higher likelihood that it will be recycled, and so the environmental impact is potentially less.
Well, isn't it true that we just talked about fiberglass?
insulation.
That glass going to single stream in Salt Lake is not turned into insulation, housing insulation. We just said that. We know that. I know that.
Right,
So you separate glass and it goes in source separated out of this town. It probably goes to Salt Lake City and makes another product. You send it in your single stream and it probably, I think we already know, it doesn't do
well,
that.
we've already clarified that, we've known this for 2 years.
I know,
I mean,
exactly.
we've known this question, and the thing that the community doesn't know, we've been talking about it for 2 years. So if anyone's actually paying attention to us, they know that this glass in the single stream doesn't get recycled. And if we had a choice, we wouldn't be doing it.
And this
So there's-
complies by third
Yeah,
parties.
it's like we're just beating our head against all wall. We know this. So, and it's frustrating to not be able to do it, but it's not under our control.
But I'm just answering his question. Did you get the answer?
I'm not sure if you answered the question that I really have.
You wanted to know.
Well,
Well-
if you want to recycle glass, that's definitely better to.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's the
And
answer.
from a
Definitely.
cost perspective, it's better for me to take my recycling to put it into my single stream bin.
Or make a donation to CRC to cover the costs of dealing with your waste.
I personally feel that my time here is my donation. to the CRC.
No.
No, I'll grant you that, but in terms of a
Yeah, okay.
generalized question.
Yeah, you're okay.
Joe,
Uh-huh.
Joe Trash.
But, okay, so from a cost perspective, maybe I should be using single stream more, but from an environmental perspective or carbon footprint perspective, maybe I should be using the CRC.
Do you take your bike up there? I mean, this debate can go
Oh,
all
yeah.
kinds of directions,
Believe
and I'll
me,
give you,
I've done
those-
this sort of.
yeah, and so
Cycle
the
analysis.
commodities up at the CRC are cleaner, because we
Yeah.
hand pick them. That's,
Right.
I mean, so that's gonna be clean, but the MRF up in Salt Lake, it uses AI and it hand picks it, and so the product that comes out of there is really just as clean once they retrieve it. Now, they might not retrieve it all, but the product they do retrieve is just, it's the same exact commodity. So, and generally, that's why people in nationwide went to single stream, is because you get more volumes, or people in this county that'll throw it away in front of their house that are never gonna go up to the CRC, because it's a pain in the ass. Sometimes it's busy up there. But it is, I mean, it definitely is cleaner. So, and we have, because of what we've established, is that we know the destination of a lot of that stuff, as we're single stream is kind of, you know.
If you, let's put the glass on the side for a second, the whole glass is, as far as single stream. Nationally. 20% of what goes into a materials recovery facility, a MRF. Goes out the back as waste.
20%.
But a large portion of that is the wrong materials put out. The right materials, the PET, the milk jugs, the fiber, by far, a majority of what goes in there gets recycled. It gets separated out, it gets put into bales. They might not be quite as clean as the bales we produce. They're
We
not.
saw that at Wasatch Integrated.
Yes.
We watched them hand pick out everything on their lines. They had optical sorters, they had magnets, and they had some special thing that literally like levitates stuff out of the bin. It was wild.
For the aluminum cans, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you can watch
That
it
was-
forever.
That was wild.
Not every piece, not any system is 100%. And if you tour one of these places, they told us that. I mean, really, they broke it down to us like we had no experience at all. And he's like, well, that's not gonna make it through. A lot of the smaller fiber pieces don't make it through. The systems aren't designed to pick out a piece of paper this big. A lot of the round materials, a lot of pill bottles don't make it through. It's the way the system, everything is spinning, everything is moving. They don't make it through. A small percentage, I think. It was the MRF that we just opened in Charleston County, the test proved 95% of the material that was correct, that we were seeking, got captured and recycled. Now, there are percentage of people who think license plates. That's not what we're looking for at the curb. We're looking for bottles and cans, chains, brake pads, all kinds of weird stuff. Yes, it's metal. Yes, it's recyclable, but that's not what they're looking for at the curb. Wish cycling, as was mentioned in today's article. And I'm just telling you, that's the fact, 100% open and honest. If we remove the glass, because right now the glass is counted as residue on our single stream. So we have upwards of 30% residue. You got to remember, glass is the heaviest part of the waste stream. We remove that, we're in single digits easily. 9%, 8%. It's just, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying one's better than the other. Like I said, the CRC's materials are by far cleaner, but they're both getting recycled.
Yeah, the single stream, you got instant volume. You get the truck is out there, it picks up, 20 yards worth of stuff. You've got instant volume. CRC, you're waiting to fill up a bin of certain commodity. It could take months depending on what that material is. So it sits there for a period of time before it would, go off to the recycle center or the MRF. So in terms of speed, the single stream gets the material collected and it goes off to where it needs to go in a fairly rapid, quick time frame. The CRC, depending on the material, it could take a while for a certain material to build up for it to be economically viable to ship it somewhere for the, the other operating costs that happens to have to be incurred to transport something in a volume that is, at least breaks even or a minimal loss.
So continuing with board reports. The
Steering it back.
city manager and the finance officer to discuss the evolution of the city's arrangement with the district, whether it's called a contract or a franchise agreement or an interlocal agreement, but just moving that forward instead of being stuck in what it currently is. And that includes getting glass out, moving billing. We also spent a fair amount of time discussing, since the city requires all residential customers, basically requires all trash generators to get pickup, whereas in the county, that's not the case. So there are some unknown number of households that drop off at the here at the transfer station or at some other dumpster around town, ideally, or at worst, at no dumpster.
Still a lot of people that burn it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, so from the city's perspective, is that fair? Are their customers bearing a disproportionate cost? And should the county consider, or the district on the single, possibly off chance that it has the authority, require trash pickup from at least some county customers? So we spent some time on that with no conclusions, and that would be a longer term process. This city is very interested in the rate study and taking a look at that before it's final, just so that they can potentially have input and because maybe we do want to tweak it to reflect values around recycling and who bears that cost, or even though like in the ideal world, or not ideal, but in a purely rational world, it's just proportions to the cost of the service, but there may be reasons to incentivize certain behaviors like recycling or lower volumes. So it was a good discussion. And
I want to say one more thing. Kaylin gave me the best advice, and we were talking earlier, I don't know, years maybe ago, a couple of years or whatever. The best advice about glass, because it's problematic, because it's so heavy, is when you go to buy a beer, buy it in a can. Problem solved.
If we don't
And
need it, we don't have to get rid of it.
it was the best advice that I never really thought that much about it, because I typically buy beer because I want to buy the kind that I'm buying or whatever. But you know, if it's not in glass anymore, I mean, in a can anymore, I don't buy it. And I mean, that's a pretty easy solution.
Right.
Kaylin, for that.
Sure, and I hope that when we finally, or when you finally address the glass situation, that's part of the messaging. And not just about glass, but all sorts of commodities. Like, is there a chance, is there an opportunity here to reduce? Or, and as well as like, what are you buying? Are you buying recycled content products? Because we've got to close the loop. That's all part of the messaging that is happening, but maybe could happen more. And I know that when I brought it up, Jessica objected a little bit because some beers only come and don't come in cans. Like,
If it's in a beer bottle and I like it, I'm gonna buy it.
yeah,
But I use the CRT, so.
yeah.
But yeah, it's so interesting. I'm sorry, but I want to keep talking. It's so interesting that the dynamics of this community is such that those people you described are juxtaposed right beside people like me and Sarah. And so that's why it's so onerous. And that's why me and Sarah want to tell everybody about it. And, you know, and I do appreciate where you guys have gone, and, you know, you do a great deal, but I'm not a Facebooker. You know, I'm barely able to function that way. But, you know, so I suspect that a lot of your people that you described are not Facebookers. and they're not these people, they're more like me that way, and I don't think our district does enough of, what is it, for the common folk? Outreach for the common folk, about what it means to buy stuff that has recycled content, what it means to drive up that hill and take that stuff to the CRC, or, you know, I just don't see that. That's, I guess, a contrast in the outreach, you know, because, you know, I don't,
Well, we could always start going door to door.
I did that.
well, I'm trying, you know, I thought we had that school in the bag. And I don't think they really prioritize, they're not prioritizing it, obviously. And so, you know, I may hear from them. The last I talked to one of them, they're going, Diane, school's only been in session 2 days. Sit back, relax. And I'm like, I don't know about the yellow pages. I said, you find it fast in the yellow pages. If you don't buy it right away, might not be there when you want to buy it. I'm done.
Okay, well,
I don't have any board report.
all right. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is set for Wednesday, October 18th, 2023, when we will be getting into the rate study some more, so we'll have some more substance to discuss. And is there a motion to adjourn?
It's my birthday, dude.
Oh, happy
No,
birthday.
October 18th.
Oh.
The next board meeting is.
Okay, well, we'll let Kevin know to bring birthday appropriate snacks.
I move to adjourn this meeting.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all. Good
Thank you.
discussion.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you three for being here today, so we can move some things